To welcome everyone to Employment Support Network. I am Denise Barnes, and I am the Fcic Employment Coordinator. And Brenda Clark, who most of you are used to working with, is in the background as well. She's here today. And so we want to welcome you to Employment Support Network. This is being recorded. So if you do not want your information to get out there or your face, you're free to change your name and also keep your video off. If you are a presenter, I do ask that when you're presenting that you turn your video on. Only the presenters will be allowed to share their screens. And so in your registration, we asked, who are you? Were you an advocate? Were you a parent? Were you a discretionary person? But at this moment, if you have the ability to, can you put into the chat who you represent? Are you a person with a disability? Are you a self-advocate? Are you a professional working with individuals? Are you a parent? Are you a guardian? Who you are, please feel free to put that into the chat. We appreciate you. I have lost my chat box, so here it is. Thank you all very much for doing that. And at the end, we're going to mention this again, but if you want to request a survey to provide your feedback and also to get a certificate of completion, you're going to need to email me at drbarnes, that's DRBARNES @usf.edu. And so now you're going to hear from Abby and Amanda. They join us from Future Pathways. Abby is a 5th generation Floridian who's lived in Tallahassee, and she has her master's degree in special education, and she has over 10 years of experience supporting adults with developmental disabilities. And she is a nationally recognized as Teacher of the Year for Council for Exceptional Children's Division and Developmental Disabilities. And Amanda is also a native of Tallahassee, Florida. Sorry. She spearheaded a redesign of the transition program and won the Teacher of the Year in 2016. And in 2018, she was nationally recognized as the Teacher of the Year for Council for Exceptional Children's Division on Autism and Developmental Disabilities as well. And today she is owner of Future Pathways, a support to help teens and adults get integrated into the community. So take it away, Miss Amanda and Abby.
Thank you so much for that awesome introduction. We're really glad that you guys are here. We are Future Pathways. We just happen to be a service provider in the Tallahassee, Big Bend area. We're excited to do this presentation because we have some of our very own clients, and then as well as people in the community that are here to share with you all the positive experiences and the great supports that they've gotten, and kind of some recommendations for people in the field as far as job coaching and employment supports that work. So you'll be hearing from a lot of people in our community, and we're glad that you're here. All right. So we're going to start our presentation. All right. Sorry, bear with me. All right. First, we're going to hear from Mingdee Hou. So just so you know, we're going to hear from different panelists for about 45 minutes, and then the last couple of minutes are going to be reserved for questions. So Mingdee, take it away.
Hi, I'm Mingdee. I'm 23 years old. I'm a daytime porter at the Florida Ball.
So Mingdee, tell us a little bit about your journey to finding your dream job.
I started at the transition program since I was 18 years old, and I stayed there until I'm 22 years old. I had a few internships, and just before I graduated, I had an interview, and I got the job, and I currently work at the Florida Ball.
Nice. So Mingdee attended a program in Leon County schools for 18 to 22-year-olds with disabilities, and he had a job there that he really liked. He had a few different internships, and then right before he left, he was placed with the help of some job coaches and teachers at the job where he works now. Tell us a little bit about the job that you have now.
Well, my job duties are changing out the toilet paper with punishing paper towel, changing out the batteries, and doing the touch points.
Nice. What's your favorite part of your job?
Helping out my coworkers.
Nice. You have some good coworkers. How many hours a week do you work?
I'm working about 30 hours a week.
30 hours a week. Nice. And then how long have you worked there?
About 1 year.
Nice. How long do you want to work there?
Until I possibly retire.
Nice. That sounds like a good job. We some supports that did work for you when you were on the job hunt and then after you got your job?
Okay, so my teachers and job coaches helped me with my interview and my communication skills, and I needed a lot of help with that. They also they taught me how to ride a city bus to and from work, and how to ask for help, how to do my job.
And
And
then what about your coworkers and bosses?
they taught me how to do my job, and they showed me tricks on how to do my job faster.
Nice. So the job coaches kind of got you started and were there a lot in the beginning when you needed them. And now you kind of rely on those natural supports like your coworkers, like Homer.
Yes.
Nice. And then who's in the picture at the top of the screen?
The very top of on the very right hand side is Red Frisbee. He's the head of the facilities management, and Home was my supervisor, and Red is also my supervisor as well.
Nice. So those are the people that kind of help you out for the most part now.
Yes.
Nice. Can you give us some examples of things that don't work for you?
Well, when job coaches don't do a good job explaining things to me, and also when job coaches tell me things at the last minute, and being placed in a job or internship where my skills and interests don't fit with me, and also coming into the workplace when I don't need help.
Nice. That's perfect. So you had like a pretty good job when you first started at the transition program, right? You had a job that you liked and you were an office clerk for Leon County schools, but then a couple of years into it, you had to advocate to the job coaches, hey, I'm getting bored with this now. I need a job with more hours, right?
Yes.
So it's important that like the job coaches, we listened and made sure like that we got you something a little bit different, right?
Yes.
Okay. I like that. And then give us some suggestions for employment specialists. What are some things we should think about?
Well, explain things in a way that she or him can understand. Speak slowly if needed. Be patient, and give a positive and constructive criticism. Give helpful advice, but be positive. An example of this positive constructive criticism, I used to knock on a woman's restroom very hard until one of my coworkers came up to me and told me to knock on the door softly.
Nice. That's perfect. Well, thank you, Mingdee. Is there anything else that you wanted to share?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. That was perfect. Thanks, Mingdee.
Robin, check your email. I just sent you the link.
All right. And now we have Pam and Drew.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Pam Garrett. This is my son, Drew. Drew Owen. He's 33 and very active. He is presently not working because of the pandemic. But before that, he had a really good job that he'd had for 10 years at FSU at one of the cafeterias, Seminole Cafe, right? Go Noles. When he was in school, he He had a really good teacher. He had some job training. He worked at Publix. He worked at a local gym, cleaning equipment, etc. And then he had a phenomenal teacher at school who the last 6 months he was there got him in with vocational rehab to find a job. And it took about a year after that before he was placed or found a job at FSU. So, and he loved it. He wiped tables down. He did trash. He really liked interacting with the students and all. When he first got there with the job coach, she was pretty active for about a month. And then she would pick him up, take him to the job. And I would pick him up in the afternoon. And so I got to know the people that worked there and saw how he was interacting. And they confided in me that the job coach, after about a month, wasn't doing anything, that she just sat in a corner and just slept or did whatever. And that they were the ones doing things with Drew, showing him the right things to do. So we cut her loose, and I kind of just became an advocate and talked with the employers and told Drew what he needed to do. And he did his job. He knows his job is important. The things that I would suggest for people in your field is to have clear instructions with the job coach, maybe a job description that's very clear so that we know what to expect as the parent or guardian, that we know what to expect. And also to maybe encourage the guardians or parents to reach out to the employers, to let them have a role in it, because they're the ones that are in this too. I don't mean to be a helicopter, but to be, for the parent or the guardian to have a visible presence with the job so that they know that he is supported at home and it's not just this person who is paid to be the coach, because we're all in this together. Right, Drew?
Yes.
That's perfect. Thank you, Pam and Drew. And next up, we've got Lisa and Reagan. Just make sure you unmute those.
Hi, my name is Lisa Brown Davis, and this is my daughter, Reagan Brown. There's a bunch of things on the screen that Reagan likes to do, but we've lived in Tallahassee for the past since Reagan was 18 months. And she just enjoys spending everything and spending time with her sisters and her family and her dogs. So that's Reagan. Yep. So Reagan got started, I would say a lot of her training and skills started at Childs and then continued at ACE Transition, where she learned more job skills and volunteered. There was many places that Reagan has volunteered. We just listed a few today, and Reagan's going to tell us which ones she did.
At Publix, I learned how to bag groceries. At Goodwill, I learned to sort clothes in the bins. That's an item. At Snack Attack, I learned how to set the drinks and snacks to sort them.
Did you sell anything?
Staff and students.
Sold the staff and students, okay. And then
At Lucky Goat, I learned how to measure a flavor of coffee to eventually keep the cafe clean.
and to keep the cafe clean. And out of these jobs listed on the screen, Reagan, which one was your most favorite?
How can I say the? Yeah.
And why? Why was it your
Because
favorite?
it's more than like special to me because the thing is like all people like come up and get pay some money and then
So it's special to you because the people come up and you got to be around people,
yeah.
which is awesome. And that's a nice to kind of, you know, it kind of leads us into, well, it'll lead us into the next screen. I'm sorry. In August, this past August, Reagan got her first permanent part-time job at Radiology Associates. She started as a temperature checker and was responsible for taking all the employees' temperatures before entering the building. She also did supply and food delivery directions, and she did some bagging of the masks and patient tags. And recently that position was stopped because it got cold outside, so they moved her to a dresser position. And this position is like a godsend for Reagan. This is a blessing for her. She's always wanted to work in the medical field, and she has a lot of patient interaction, which she loves. Right now, she runs the patient's documents to different departments, or I'm sorry, different bins, and she's able to put them and call their names and put them in sub-waiting.
Yeah, for the pet. So this is me on the green X-ray put in there. All the stuff we put in there, and this is me. I'm standing on the
Your first job, temperature taker.
to take her thing. This is me doing during today my locker. I'm adjusting the 299.
Okay, good. And so the support that has worked for Reagan, obviously the being at ACE and with her teachers and her job coaches helping her learn to transition on the city bus. Her job coaches have created a resume for her, has made flashcards for her to practice for her interview, so she was able to be prepared and talk on her interview. They've also created a work binder with pictures and step-by-step instructions that helps Reagan stay on task with her job. And then most recently,
color-coded bins and charts.
Yep, color-coded bins and charts, and that really helps her with the job that she has today at Radiology.
So this is me, Amanda. We're getting interviewed to a new job. If the temperature is lower than 96.
So this is a picture about
a picture of the below 96, and then to take it.
Yeah. So if somebody had a temperature below 96, you had to retake it.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And what's this picture of?
It's up the things I put into the red, green, red, brown, blue, purple.
What things?
Nuclear medicine, X-ray, PET, vascular ultrasound, fluoro, dialysis.
Is that the patient's paperwork?
So
this is a great example.
And biopsy.
And biopsy. And this is a great picture because this picture really is a great visual to see that the bins were color coded for Reagan. So she was able to, the job coach was able to still take the same position, but was able to make it so Reagan could do that position just by color coding it. Things that didn't work or didn't help, I would say, for Reagan, she has to have a job that has enough interest. And I was almost going to step over in the beginning. So she said her first out of the four, she really enjoyed Snack Attack. We thought, or I thought, she was going to enjoy Lucky Goat because, you know, it was a fun job as well, but there wasn't as much interaction with her and other customers. So she was more by herself. She was cleaning, which was fantastic, but there was not a lot of customer or person interaction. So I learned on very early that I really need to listen to Reagan in reference to what her interests are, because when she has the interest, she gives it 100%.
The reason we talked about it because it's been hard.
So suggestions, I would say give instructions in a positive and upbeat manner with clear, achievable expectations. I feel like in the beginning, they need to know what, or I would say Reagan needs to know what she needs to do. So that way she understands it and things aren't being added on that can get a little bit aggravating and a little upsetting for her. So to give clear, positive, upbeat, clear instructions, to have daily reminders for her positions have worked out fantastic for us. It keeps her on track. Really important that I think everybody needs, but especially Reagan has, is a buddy system in place. So if she doesn't have a job coach there and she has questions, that she's able to use her voice and use her words and have a buddy system that can kind of help her. And everybody wants, you know, a buddy at work anyway. And then just take time to really find out about the individual's strengths and weaknesses and try to find a job that allows them to shine. And that's, you know, going back to me listening to what Reagan really likes. She really wanted to be in the medical field. She really wanted to work around people. She wanted to help people. And so by listening to what she wants, we were very blessed to have found this new position, and we're hoping that it continues. And we're just very happy with the amount of work that the job coaches have taken, and you know, knowing that the job coaches and the workplace can kind of come together and make a position that was, you know, for maybe somebody typical that now could have it for somebody like Reagan.
That was perfect. Thank you, Lisa and Reagan.
Thanks, ladies.
All right. Okay. So that is all we have. We're going to switch over to Miss Filomena Macdonald.
While Ms. McDonald is coming to share her screen, if you have any questions for any of the panelists you have seen so far, please put them into the chat because we will be hearing from Ms. McDonald and one other parent before we start the Q&A.
Oh, hi, I'm Filomena McDonald. My son, Kyle McDonald, is 29 years old, and he's the one I'm going to talk about today. When he was 8 years old, a doctor told me that he would never be able to hold a job. That day, I made it my mission and do everything in my power to prove him wrong. Kyle was diagnosed with moderate to severe autism at the age of 4. But in spite of his poor language skills, and he has been able to hold a job for 7 years. Don't let their limitations stop them from being employed. In high school, Kyle's employment was also my focus. And part of that was to get employment goals on his IEP. So he got starting working in a cafeteria where he was a dishwasher, and he also cleaned the tables during the time he was in high school. Apart from that, he also delivered a newspaper to the whole school, to every teacher's classroom, and navigated a huge school with about 3,000 students. So that was also a good thing for him, learning to navigate a school like that size. Kyle graduated with a special diploma, and he had the option to go into the extended transition program, which we did accept, and that was a great experience. In the extended transition program, he had a wonderful teacher that placed him working in one of the restaurants at Innisbrook Golf Course Resort. There he learned professionally how to be a dishwasher, and the chef absolutely loved him, and he did a good job. And as part of the program at Innisbrook was also learning job skills and job interviews and wearing uniforms and anything related to work, to employment. So that was a good experience for him as well, to have that plus the hands-on work that he had at the restaurant. In the meanwhile, there was an opening for employment came up at Countryside High School at Pinellas County Schools, and a job coach approached the teacher, and the teacher contacted me asking if I wanted Kyle to go for a job interview. I was very excited, said yes, and the job coach, which is one of the teachers from the school, took him and got him through the interview, the application first, then the interview, and she was just a blessing. He had 3 letters of reference, one from his high school where his teacher gave him a letter of reference. Then he had a letter of reference from the chef where he worked at the restaurant. He also had a letter of reference from thrift store where he volunteered with me. And that made a huge difference for him to get his job and be chosen for employment. The thrift store was a very good experience and still is, but we're home now because of the COVID. But he has been working there for 7 years too, and he loves the people there. He helps with stocking. He helps people taking their merchandise to their cars, and is very happy working there, and everyone loves him there. That was a very good experience, and I felt that he needed more job experience before he actually was offered the job that he has. So that was a stepping stone for him. Kyle's employment journey actually started at home. We early in his life, I started giving him a simple responsibilities and giving him chores like setting the table, preparing simple meals, helping with the dishes, laundry, food shopping. And that's, I think, again, something that we need to think about, having those experiences before you even get out there to look for a job. So he was already exposed to those experiences at home, and he accepted more responsibility as he got older. Today, Kyle is has been working for 7 years, and he is still has lots of issues and is far from being independent, but we're working on transportation, taking transportation independently, working on phone skills. Because of this language, he has problems with using a phone. We still have speech therapy, and we're working on him self-advocating, like asking for help when he needs, and advocating for himself and standing up for himself in case he is in a trouble, in a situation that he needs help. In spite of all his issues, he's happy, and I am so happy that he's been able to work, and parents should never give up because there's always hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. And before we go on to questions from the panelists, we have one other guest that's here with us today, and it's Mr. McBride. And I'd like to offer him to offer some words of wisdom. You're still muted, Mr. McBride.
How's that?
That's better.
Thank you. That's a button my wife wishes she had. As you've heard tonight, it is essential for parents and guardians to be part of the whole process to get and keep employment. I'm a parent of a special needs daughter, and so my perspective is really to emphasize the importance of the parents' involvement. Partnership with them really needs to be cultivated. So I notice this audience is mostly support coordinators, so you need to make sure that the job coaches are deliberate to achieve a good partnership, a good relationship with the parents and guardians and family. Having their buy-in is the best foundation for long-term success, because getting the employment is a lot easier than keeping that employment. So I recommend that you be mindful of the parent and family interaction that the job coaches are doing, and make sure that the job search and interviewing and associations, make sure all those efforts are definitely coordinated with the family, because as Pam says, that there is often a need to have the parents step in and take it the next step, and that's the best way to ensure long-term success. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McBride. And for those in our audience, if you do have a question, you can either unmute yourself and ask the questions one at a time, or you can type it into the chat.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to hear from parents, what might a support coordinator or employment provider or teacher, a paid support person, say to a parent about how to encourage giving responsibilities and chores in their son or daughter's daily living activities that can be translated into work tasks for those, especially parents who might think that, as Ms. Macdonald was saying, if just because there may be concerns with behavior that's not as acceptable in the workplace, or the person has concerns with communicating using words, what is something compelling that can be said to a family member that they may listen and get that seed planted for their son or daughter to pursue possibilities in the workplace?
Can I say something?
Yes.
With Kyle, with my son, the thing was to get a job where language wasn't an issue. He doesn't have to communicate very much. He's on the autism spectrum, so he likes to do repetitive things, like washing dishes does the same thing every day. It's always the same. So he's actually enjoying it. You walk in there and he has a smile on his face when he's doing this. It's a very repetitive, is sensory stimulating for him. And I think the cue here is to find something that he likes, even if it's something you don't think it's that important. Find something he likes and then work on that. That's my opinion here. With Kyle, we were lucky because he actually loves his job and it was something he liked. He doesn't need to use his language that much. So it's, he's left alone. He just does his job.
Thank you,
And
very
I'd
much.
like to, can I say something?
Yes.
For us, for Reagan, I wanted her to have the initiative to, when she saw the dishes full, to unload the dishwasher without being reminded, or when she sees her bed not made, to go ahead and make her bed without being reminded. So her job coach, just recently, probably 6 months ago, went ahead and put a binder together, and it's of the skills that I want her to learn at home so that she can have them in the future. And so some of them she loves to do, and then others she doesn't. Like typical people, there's things I don't like to do, but at least she has each each skill is, you know, in a binder, and we have something on the board, and it's just a repetitive thing where she knows every Monday she does the towels, or Tuesday she'll do her bedroom. So it's just really teaching her the skills at home. And then I really feel like that kind of transfers into workplace. The skills are different for her, but she's used to having that everything kind of listed for her. So if, you know, if she forgets to do something, or if she doesn't do it the way it's written, she can kind of go back and make tweaks and do it correctly.
Thank you, thank you.
So I think they're both spot on. I mean, the concept of a task list is huge. And again, that the repetitiveness of that is easy for some people, but sometimes it's not for others. And so having it written down, having it documented in a way that the child can understand that really helps in the long run. And for allowing for employment, doing that in the home is training them to be able to do it with employment. That is the number one impetus that I would recommend you use with the parents. A routine at home sets the foundation for a routine for employment. And that's the hard thing to do. I do have to say, there are a lot of parents that are very, very hesitant to release that control. They're worried about their little one, and it's very hard for them to not pick up the dishes after them, or give them a task list to make their bed. That's a challenge, and that's one of the things that we talk through with our parent group, in that you have to take a deep breath and step back and give them the responsibility, and you'll be shocked. They'll be shocked at how quickly their loved ones will pick it up.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. And one of the things that I want to mention is for everyone is that individuals on the autism spectrum and those with other developmental disabilities have difficulty with executive function. And that's the ability to plan, organize, and carry out tasks. And yes, they may be able to put together the Star Wars latest robot or a Star Trek spaceship and do it with no issues. But yes, they need a reminder to do a task at work. And those reminders may be needed throughout the span of their time at that job. And even if they're not living with their parents, they may be residing in group homes, they still need to have the opportunities to do chores around the home, have work experiences in the community that will lead to them finding employment that they like and may turn out into being a career, such as with Reagan. I mean, she wants to be in the medical field and she finally is in there. And such as Kyle Macdonald, he's doing a job that he's wanted to do, finding a job and having a job that you love to do are two very different things. And the support individuals, the support professionals that are on this webinar are those that help individuals to find those things and make their dreams become a reality. And we commend you for that. We have not had any questions put into the chat. Does anyone have a question for any of our presenters, for the staff from Future Pathways, or for the FCIC staff?
I have another question. How early should parents start giving responsibilities of daily chores at home?
Age 3, when they can start walking.
Early.
We did we did like taking and bringing your plate back to the table. I mean, that's a regular chore that Katy has always done. So it's never too early, because there's always something that they can do. And if you start early, then it makes it a lot easier as they grow older, because that routine of chores, or, here's a task that has to be done, they learn from that, and they can expand on that, and they can grow from that.
And I have to say, for our household, Reagan was our oldest. She was my first child. So I didn't have typical kids before Reagan. And so Reagan was typical. I've raised Reagan like she's just like all of us. And I've had her in inclusion ever since, you know, in the Leon County schools. So I remember, I think she was maybe 2. She learned how to clean her room. So she would play with her toys in her room. And then in the end, we would sing the cleanup song, and she'd put all her toys in her toy box, and she'd put everything away, and she'd move her, you know, the covers around. So I never treated Reagan differently. I, you know, was 28 years old with my husband and came home with a typical baby, and I raised her typically. So I've always had the same responsibilities for Reagan as I do my other children. And again, you know, she's just flourished. Very blessed. And I think it has to do with just allowing her to do what she can do. And for us, and really quickly, you know, she's at home and she does all these great things. And now she's got this great opportunity and this big job. And it's hard. It is hard, isn't it? But she does it. And and every day I pick her up, she's loving it and she's doing exactly what she wants to do.
Everything she does.
Yeah. So it's a blessing to know that that they can do whatever. I mean, as long as everything is in place for them, they can do anything that they want to do.
Thank you for that. And I have a question for Abby and Amanda. Do you have any words or tips for those who are working not only with their parents, but they have a support coordinator and they also have the job coach and they have the school staff that are helping them as well? Do you have any tips for them to work together?
We always try to involve, like, when we meet with a parent, if they first become our client, we're like, who all is helping your son or daughter? So we always make a big deal about, like, all right, well, tell us, like, do they have a respite care person? Who's their teacher? Who's their card representative? Who do you feel comfortable with us bringing to the table? We always try to make a big deal about recognizing that we're not coming in and pretending to be the experts on your son or daughter. So I think just making an active effort to bring a lot of people to the table that probably know the client that we just, you know, have brought on, like, that know them a lot better than we do.
Yeah. And I think it's like, it's a holistic approach. So everyone brings a different piece, a different puzzle piece to the table to make everything fit together. So, you know, we know that we can't work 24 hours a day. We can't come and work with your son or daughter at nighttime, but you can by helping them, you know, fix the meals at nighttime and clean up the kitchen afterwards. So it's really just getting everybody on the same page. We never want to replicate services. So like, if we know that one agency is doing something, if that's working, great, let them do that piece and we'll pick up something else. So it's really just staying in constant communication with everyone. I mean, we email people like crazy. We always have a ton of text message groups going with different people on that support team. We're always messaging. Like, I see Lisa nodding her head. We have all these text messaging groups where we're letting mom know every time that something's happening. If you keep parents in the loop, you're going to have their buy-in, like Michael said. Nothing is going to come as a surprise later on when the client's not doing well at work, because we've already let the parent know that there were some issues earlier on. So it's really just being transparent and having that clear and ongoing communication with everyone in the client's life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Talk with the parent and client from the beginning. What's your preferred method of communication? You know, where do you like to meet? You know, just, I guess, just getting to know the people that you're working with as best you can.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have one comment in the chat that says, I always tell parents to concentrate on the abilities and not the disabilities and try to see if they can do everyday tasks at home and you will be surprised. Yeah.
So that goes to Lisa's point. I mean, when Katy came home, we raised her just like we did her big brother. So addressing their abilities is huge. And to make sure the parents understand that concept is something everybody needs to do. Everybody who talks to them needs to emphasize the abilities that they have and not look to work around their disabilities.
Cool, thank you. And how, I know Filomena Macdonald alluded to this in her presentation, but how important are verbal communication skills to employment?
They're important, but I don't think they're if the person has a good supervisor and a good support system, that can be overcome by balanced, and again, like I said, if he has a job where communication isn't a big issue, like they have staff meetings, for instance, and for the staff meetings, Kyle doesn't speak very well. He also has auditory processing problems. Therefore, going to a staff meeting is not retaining what is being said. Therefore, his supervisor just texts me if there's something that I should know. Otherwise, they don't worry about him being even present at the meeting, because it just, is not important. If there is something important, she'll let me know, which is, all this. That's why it's so important to have everybody working together for them to be successful.
Thank you. Thank you. Last call for any questions and or comments from any of our presenters. Mingdee, do you have anything you want to say?
No, I don't have anything to say.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank you all for joining us this evening for our Employment Supports That Work webinar. This event is being recorded, and I will send out a link to you with the link if you want to view it again at a later date. We will also be sending out a survey. We'd appreciate if you complete that survey about the presentation this evening. And if you're interested in a certificate, then you must complete the survey to get your certificate of completion. Also, our next webinar is going to be, I talked too fast before my slide. We also have a lot of FCIC online resources, and those resources can be found on our website and also at our Inclusion Florida website. And we will be sure to put that into the box. Our next event is going to be on March 16th. It's going to be Employment, COVID, and You. And we'll be joined with individuals from EEOC, the Department of Labor, and potentially Social Security to talk about persons with disabilities working in this climate, getting their jobs back, and any of the upcoming rules and regulations that may affect them in employment. So we hope that you'll join us for those, and I will make sure that you get notification for that. There is a Hdi Seminar Series that's coming up on February 12th, and it's about business as a social engine of America, enhancing the employment success of young adults with significant disabilities through supported and customized employment. And that will be from 1 to 3 on February 12th. The link has been put into the chat if you'd like to get more information about that. And it will also be a Zoom webinar. And some additional FCIC employment focused resources are our regular Florida FCIC.org website. There's also CARD USF and the Learning Academy, which is also a part of CARD and USF. Those are some links that we'll make sure that you get. I will also be sending out a copy of tonight's presentation so that you can have all these links. And Susan Bell says, thanks, parents are the key to success. And please put the link for the next training in March into the box. It is in the chat. It is the one, go up. It's listed by Brenda Clark to everyone. So she has the survey, and she also has the link for the next event. You are welcome, Abby and Amanda. We want to thank everyone for being here with us this evening. I thank all of you for giving us your undivided attention. And if you have any questions about anything, you have any topics you want us to cover, in the future, please feel free to email me or to put it in the chat. I truly appreciate our captioner for doing the closed captioning for us this evening. And I also want to thank Brenda Clark for her assistance as well. And all of our presenters, Michael McBride, Filomena Macdonald, Mingdee Hou, Pam Garrett, Amanda and Abby, Lisa Brown Davis, and Reagan. Thank you all for joining us this evening.
And I have one more question. One more question. We've got a few minutes left. I'd like for Ms. Macdonald to just emphasize a little bit about the IEP advocacy that parents may engage in.
Yeah, when my son was in high school, I made sure that part of this IEP, like that he would have hands-on work, jobs, not just be sitting in the classroom learning academics, because by then he was on the special diploma track. And I think academics is something you can always catch up later on in life, but job was for me a very big thing, especially when I was told when he was 8 years old that he could never work. So that I was determined that those were goals, and parents can do that. You know, you're an equal you're an equal member of your IEP team, so you have the power to just ask for them to put those goals in place and make sure they are executed, because, you know, those are problems as well with the IEPs. You put things down on paper and then often they don't take place. That, again, parent involvement is so important even when they're at school as well, that they know that things are happening. And I had a close contact with his teacher, his classroom teacher, his ESE teacher, and that's how I got it. I just put those goals, and we looked for what was the best for him, and the cafeteria seemed a good fit for him.
Thank you very much. And for those on the line who may not know that when a child turns 14, if they are in special ed or ESE, they're supposed to have an employment goal added to that IEP. And they can start receiving or applying for services from the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation as early as age 14. There is peer mentoring, there's on-the-job training, there's job shadowing, there's work experience, all types of opportunities that they can obtain prior to them graduating from high school to prepare them for the world of work. And Sherry says, thank you for the great information. She's very appreciative.
Abby and Amanda, I said I just had one more thing, but obviously I did not. Could you please just, because both of you were teachers in your earlier life there, just kind of another trajectory from what Denise was just sharing about the rule, IDEA rule. Could you talk just a little bit about the difference now that there are not certificates of completion, and why that is so significant and important from high school, graduating from high school? Are you guys familiar with that a little bit?
We came in right at the end of special diploma, and then now it's called access points. So everyone receives a standard diploma with access points. So there's not really too much of a difference. But I loved what Ms. Macdonald said about like making sure you're following up with your teachers, getting those IEP goals, being very like insistent, like this is what my son or daughter needs. This is what I think they deserve. And she's right, like starting at 14, that's.
Yeah. And I think as Abby and I were getting kind of towards the tail end of our time in the classroom, we just started involving the families more and more and more as we kind of realized and learned our way that really is the key to success. And by law, the IEP is a live document. Just because the teacher has outlined goals and brought that to the table at the IEP meeting does not mean that that is set in stone. So remember that during an IEP meeting, changes can happen right then and there. We used to project our IEPs on a screen so that the entire family could see what we were typing in the entire time. And then if the family didn't agree with our goals, we would come back and have a different IEP meeting, because that is a legal document. And so the people that are upholding those activities definitely need to be held accountable.
Yeah, and they can request a new IEP at any time too. I think that's something we were like, parents, if you're not happy, go ahead and request an IEP change, and get the things that your son or daughter needs.
Yeah, and you're allowed to bring whoever you want to an IEP meeting.
Right, so waiver support coordinators and anybody that's an advocate.
So it's another way to just bring everyone together and make sure that the things being worked on at school are also the things being worked at home. And it's just a holistic approach, and everyone's working on the same thing. So don't be afraid to bring an advocate. Don't be afraid to bring someone else that you work with, just to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Good points on the IEP, says Jennifer Seegers. Yeah, it's very important, because I remember a couple years ago, I was working with a gentleman, and he invited me to one of his final transition IEPs before he graduated from high school, and they ended up deciding to defer his diploma. But he had told me prior to that meeting that he didn't want to have certain academic goals during his transition time. And so I had to reiterate his words to him and have him speak up to ensure that they did not have him working on math and English while he was trying to also complete vocational training at one of the vocational schools in the area that he was working on. And he finally did graduate with a basic construction certificate and also a basic food service certificate. And he's happy. I mean, he's driving now, he's working, he's doing a lot of different things. And had he had those academic goals embedded in that IEP, he probably would not have been as successful.
Right. That's a vital time at the tail end of getting those school services. Get as much that you can before they age out at the age of 22. And if it needs to be functional, it needs to be functional.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So again, I just want to
let me add one thing to that conversation. The question earlier about how can you engage a parent more? The IEP is huge. Have them understand the IEP is their document. It's a document for their loved one. I mean, the teachers spit them out by rote sometimes, and sometimes that's not right. So, going to the IEP meeting with the intent of setting up what's best for their child will help in all sorts of things. If they need a task list, if they need employment, if they need English, have the parents understand that, because the parents in the IEP are the ones who have to sign it. They have to sign it. They make an illegal document too. So that is their opportunity to have everything in line with the overall program, the holistic approach, which is so apropos.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, to everything that you guys said. And I truly appreciate you sharing the knowledge that you have shared with us this evening. Thank you for agreeing to give us your time this evening. Thank those of you who registered for this event and are viewing the event. We truly appreciate you. And just want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for you being here this evening. And we look forward to you joining us for the next webinar on March 16th at 4:30, from 4:30 to 6 p.m. So I truly appreciate you all, and you all have a good night. And my email is in the chat, and feel free to reach out to me anytime, and I will have the chat log. There's one new message. Let me make sure I get it. And thanks everyone for your ongoing support and participation tonight, and see you at the next webinar on March 16th. Be safe.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Please visit our website for more information about our programs, projects, and how you can get involved.